Thanks for being here with me. Today I'm talking about fibromyalgia, and I'm going to tell my story, and I see I'm getting some glare on my glasses. So I might take them off for this broadcast. I've had fibromyalgia for, I think, pretty much my entire life. I remember going back to when I was a teenager. I remember feeling the aches and the pains in my body. Even after exercise, I never seemed to recover the way other people did. I always used to feel pain afterwards, and nobody else ever felt that, and I always felt a little bit strange. So going back to the teen years, and I'm 56 now, so I think I've probably had it for a really long time. You know what? And I'm putting my glasses back on because I feel like I can't see anybody, even though I'm online. Let me see how I can do this. Well, hopefully you guys can see me okay. Anyway, so I had a stomach surgery back in 2004 for really severe gastric reflux disease. And I think that was probably what put me into a major fibro flare and caused my first real problems with fibromyalgia. I didn't know what a fibro flare was until after this surgery. I suffered nerve damage in this surgery, and it caused problems in the sternum area. And I never actually recuperated properly from that. And so the nerve damage lasted for almost a year. And so for that year, I was really hunched over, like kind of clenched and inside myself. And I think that flare probably lasted for about that same amount of time. And I never recuperated from that. And that flare lasted for such a long time that my fibro just kicked into high gear. Moving forward into 2006, 2007, I ended up having 3 separate surgeries in a 6-month period of time. So my body was already in really poor shape. And then all of a sudden, I've got these 3 surgeries happening, one right after another. So again, my body is suddenly being traumatized and never recuperating from those surgeries. The 3 surgeries, I had my left ovary removed because a cyst burst. Then I had my gallbladder out. Then I had my right ovary removed because of a cyst. And having that 3rd surgery with my right ovary being removed, that put me into surgical menopause. And I wasn't prepared for that. So my body is suddenly being traumatized again. 3 surgeries, 6 months, my fibro is kicking into high gear, and I never ever recuperated from that. So I've been dealing since 2007 with really major problems with my fibro. I was working during this time. I worked as an administrative specialist in a retail environment in the head office for the retail group. And I loved my job. I was very passionate about what I did. I did a great job. I had kudos from my bosses all the time, and I loved my job. I loved my work. I loved the people. I was doing a lot of event planning and a lot of team building events and things like that. I was a certified runner, and it got to the point where I just could not manage my job any longer. I had brain fog so terrible that in the middle of a conversation, I would lose my train of thought. I would be speaking to somebody and literally in the middle of that conversation would completely forget what I was talking about. And you talk about being embarrassed about something like that. I used to be noted for being able to have like everything in my head. I never used to carry a notebook around. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't even hold a conversation with people. The top bosses used to be so impressed by me. And then I was dropping the ball on things. And for me, that was just unconscionable. It was embarrassing. It was frustrating. It was flustering. And I realized that I just wasn't capable of doing my job anymore. My pain levels were skyrocketing. I was missing days because of having to go to doctor appointments and having various tests done, things like that. And it came to the point where my work division, it was closing anyways. And so I made the decision that I needed to be away on disability. And so that happened in 2009, and I haven't worked since 2009. That was my last day, actually in October. So it's been almost 10 years since I worked. I still get emotional when I think about it, as you can tell, but it had to be done. And so I spent the next few years really focused on trying to get my health back together. It took a long time before I was in a position where I felt like I was able to make contributions again, not in a working environment. I won't ever be able to work again. My health is just too precarious. It was unfortunate, but during the time away from work, after I went on disability, I also discovered that there were other problems going on in my body. I was diagnosed with diabetes type 2, hyperthyroidism, a digestive condition known as gastroparesis. I developed a nerve problem called trigeminal neuralgia in my face. The nerve that runs down this side of my face under the cheekbone became extremely inflamed. And when I have flare-ups of that, it becomes absolutely excruciating pain. It's known as the suicide disease, and I'm looking at potential brain surgery to correct that problem. So all these other health problems cropped up, and every time one of these issues flare up again, it puts my fibro into just a massive flare-up. So my whole body is just going crazy with pain. I lived in Calgary at the time that all of this was happening. And in 2013, my husband and I decided to move to Victoria on Vancouver Island. And a lot of it had to do with the weather. In Calgary, it was just too cold and snowy and icy. I fell twice and broke bones both times and realized I just couldn't stay in that kind of environment. My health did stabilize with the weather change in Victoria to the point where I do volunteer work now in a health environment. I volunteer for a group called the Patient Voices Network here in BC, where I work as a patient advocate. So when health companies and health organizations here are looking for patient partners, I get information about the type of volunteer work that they're looking for, whether it's sitting on a committee or doing a survey or, whatever it is that they're looking for. I can go in as a patient partner and offer my point of view or my advice or my information in a way that helps them with whatever decision making that they're looking for. So I'm currently sitting on 2 committees right now. One is working as a laboratory quality control council, sitting on that committee, and that's for all the laboratories on Vancouver Island and all the blood collection centers for quality control. And I also sit on the committee for the Clinical Resource Committee for the BC Emergency Physicians Network. So anytime you're in the hospital here, when you get the patient information sheets, I help to make sure that that information is correct and is easy to read and understand. So that's been something I've been able to do because I can work it into my schedule. So if I'm not feeling really up to par, then I'm able to step back and take a bit of a break and do my pacing and do my resting and allow myself time to heal and then go back into the volunteering again. So fibromyalgia and life, it's difficult. You may have heard about the spoon theory where, you only have so many spoons to use through the day and you have to be careful how you use them, and everything requires a spoon, and you run out and then you have no spoons left to get through the rest of the day. And it's very true. It's difficult when you don't have enough spoons to get through the day, but I've always said that there is always hope. It's tattooed on my left arm. Probably can't see, but it's there. It says, "There is always hope with my butterflies." And it's very true. That's how I live my life. That's my motto. And I believe it with my whole heart. I've been blessed with a very positive nature. And despite the worst of times, I've always kind of just counted on that no matter what happens, I'm going to get through it. And fibro might be tough on me, but I'm tougher on fibro. So thanks for listening to my story. Like I say, I do get emotional about it, but I think that's just because I'm so passionate about life, and work was passion for me, and volunteering is a passion now, and I refuse to let fibro get in the way. So thanks again for listening, and here's to your best health.